All right, let's jump right in. We've all heard the 10,000-hour rule, right? The idea that it takes that much time to become a master at something. But what if that's only a tiny part of the story? What's the real difference between someone who's just put in the hours and a true expert who sees the world in a completely different way? That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
So to kick things off, imagine this. You're in a high-stakes situation, up at 10,000 feet. Someone on your team gets a headache. Now, in high-altitude medicine, that's what they call the cardinal symptom of acute mountain sickness. It's just one simple fact. But how someone interprets that single fact, well, that's where everything changes. And this slide really breaks down the two worlds. The novice, they see a headache, period, an isolated symptom. Their first instinct is to go look up a rule in a book. But the expert, they see a potential pattern. Their brain immediately connects that headache to the context, the altitude, how fast they climbed, and they start assessing the entire situation, all based on this rich internal mental map they've built.
So this leads us to the big question, right? Why? Why do these two people, looking at the exact same thing, see such radically different realities? What's really going on in their heads? And the answer is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It's not just about having more knowledge. It's about how that knowledge is organized.
Let's dig into the novice mind for a second. Their knowledge is kind of like a long shopping list of facts and rules. They're all separate items. So when they face a problem, they're just scanning the list looking for a formula that fits. And often that knowledge is stuck in the classroom where they learned it, making it really hard to use anywhere else. This can even lead to the classic Dunning-Kruger effect, where they're not even aware of what they don't know. But the expert's mind, it's a totally different ballgame. Their knowledge isn't a list, it's a web, a deeply interconnected network where everything relates to everything else. They don't just search for a rule, they build a mental model of the whole problem. This is what lets them apply what they know so flexibly in all kinds of new situations. And their self-awareness, their metacognition, is sharp. They know exactly what they know, and more importantly, what they don't. This gets us to a really key idea called conditional knowledge. See, an expert doesn't just know what to do, they have this deep, almost intuitive grasp of when a certain piece of information is useful and, crucially, why it works in this specific context. That right there is the secret sauce to their powerful problem solving. Okay, so we've seen what the expert mind looks like. It's this beautiful, organized blueprint. But how in the world do you build one? Let's talk about the actual path to mastery, step by step. This is the Dreyfus model, and it maps out the journey perfectly. You don't just become an expert overnight. You start as a novice, just following the instructions. Then, as an advanced beginner, you start to pick up on context. At the competent stage, you're planning things out. By the time you're proficient, you're seeing the whole board and trusting your gut more. And finally, as an expert, your actions just flow. It's fluid, intuitive, and comes from that deep well of understanding. So, what's the fuel for this journey? What pushes you through these stages? It's not just logging hours or gaining experience. The real engine, as researchers like K. Anders Ericsson found, is something very specific: deliberate practice. And this just smashes that whole 10,000-hour myth to pieces. This quote from Dr. Adam Persky's research really hits the nail on the head. He basically says the whole idea is a fallacy. It's not about the sheer number of hours. It's all about the quality and the type of practice you're doing. The research uses this brilliant analogy. Think about it. You would never teach a kid baseball by throwing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs at them on day one, right? That's just setting them up to fail. No. You start them with T-ball. You simplify the problem, you build the basic skills, and then you gradually, progressively make it more challenging. That's deliberate practice. So far, we've been talking about the individual. But what happens when you need a whole team of experts to act like a single, well-oiled machine? How do you get a group of brilliant people to think as one? The answer is something called a shared mental model. You can think of it as a shared brain, an overlapping mental map that every single person on the team holds in their head. It's this shared understanding that lets them coordinate and make decisions almost instantly, even under massive pressure. So how do you actually build this thing in the real world? Well, a case study on elite rugby coaches gives us a perfect playbook. It's not a dictatorship. The coach starts with a clear idea. They call it the alpha vision. But here's the magic step: co-construction. They open that vision up for debate, for critique, with other coaches and the team leaders. What comes out the other side is the beta vision, a new, refined version that everyone understands, believes in, and feels like they own a piece of. And you can see the amazing result. This whole process creates a shared language. The rugby team in the study didn't just have a defensive plan, they had a fighter's mindset and a lion's bite. Now, these aren't just cool catchphrases. They're mental shortcuts. They're anchors for a whole set of complex tactics. When one player shouts, "Lion's bite," everyone on that field knows exactly what to do, instantly. All right, let's bring it all home. It's time to get past this idea of 10,000 hours and lay out a real, actionable blueprint for what mastery actually requires.
We see this number everywhere. It's been sold to us as this magic key, this one thing you need to achieve greatness.
But as we've seen, that is a huge oversimplification. The real ingredients for expertise are right here. Number 1, structured knowledge. You've got to build that web, not just a list. Number 2, deliberate practice. You have to push yourself with focused, challenging tasks. And number 3, metacognition. You got to be honest with yourself, constantly checking what you understand and hunting for your own blind spots. That, my friends, is the real formula.
So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. True expertise isn't about counting the hours. It's about making the hours count. And that leaves us with one final question for you. Think about your own life, your job, your hobby, anything you're trying to get better at. Where are you just passively gaining experience? And where can you start to replace that with focused, intentional, deliberate practice?